He wants to show this content. He wants to put the freaking in his thumbnail so people click on it because they want to see the tiny. He knows that, but in order to do that, not catch flack for it, he has to package the video in a way where it's like, this is awful, this is just terrible, this is crazy.
I don't remember what this was about.
So they're asking for the sauce, they're asking for the link. They're asking for the link, bro. What's the sauce? Here's the sauce. Those nudes got leaked? That's terrible. Send me the sauce. You know, that's the code. That's the code, bro. A video that ties Nux Taku's affiliation, the whole story here with MrBeast and Chris Tyson. We'll skim through here. This is a video by Harmful Opinions where he makes up some really good points against Nux Taku. Because there is a video that was viral where Nux Taku was like publicly now saying that he had no proper affiliation with Shadman. And then it was kind of up to debate. It was like, oh, well, if you think this is good or not good, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of on the fence of whether Nux Taku really deserved the level of criticism that some people believed he was deserving of. And then I watched this video from Harmful Opinions, and I was like, oh no, Nux Taku is a bit of a fucking snake, ain't he? It looks like.
Following the Chris Tyson drama explosion, which included people taking issue with Chris's association with and apparent fandom of an artist called Shadman, many people were quick to call out those who were outraged for perceived double standards.
Now, if you don't know, I'll real quick say that if you live under a fucking rock, Shadman is an artist who drew lolly, which is little girls being depicted in inappropriate ways. And that's a light way of putting it. And the shit that Shadman was drawing was probably the worst of it, I would hope. And that's a whole story in itself. But Chris Tyson, MrBeast, you know, the MrBeast guy, you don't know who that is, blah, 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 blah. You know, he had a pretty strong connection to Shadman, which Nux Taku pointed out and criticized. But Nux Taku also has a pretty decent connection to Shadman as well, which is what goes over here.
It wasn't just Chris, they said. Many people associated with Shadman and propagated his work. A portfolio which most iniquitously includes pornographic cartoons.
Yeah.
The VTuber called Nux Taku.
And it seems Nux Taku had private conversations with Shadman throughout 2021. Curious! 1.3 million views, 200,000, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. The point that I'm trying to make here is, for some reason, I became the goddamn enemy numero uno when it comes to this freaking bullshit.
I will quickly say, based solely on the content of the video in that tweet, his involvement with Shadman would seem relatively minor.
Yeah. And I'll skip ahead here where I see them talk about more, but like, Nux tried to lump himself in to the group of creators that only would like respond to Shadman on Twitter. I don't think that just responding to Shadman on Twitter is in itself dead to rights that you were like communicating with Shadman to a meaningful capacity. It's worth criticizing. And I think a lot of people share that opinion, which is why Nux tried to paint himself in a picture that lumps him in with that group of people. But it was later, if we go further here, there's more than just that.
A lot. Someone tags me, probably this guy, I don't remember what this was about. Shadman says, a bit too middle school. I say, want to collab? He says, Lamau, no, but your heart's in the right place. I say, understandable, have a nice day. I'm here when you come around.
This information was amplified.
So that was Nux Taku talking directly to Shadman, direct messages, talks and collaborating with him.
To a large audience by Keemstar. But Nux Taku had an explanation.
People are making this as some sort of, I am supporting him and I'm trying my best to become friends with Shadman, this monster. Which is fucking stupid if you know my content at all. I troll, confront people when I collab the same way you do, talking to Keemstar, on LOLcow, and if you watch my videos, you know that. I don't mind if you hate me, but at least hate me for the right reasons.
So it would have been a confrontation. He would have owned Shadman. Nux further clarifies.
I am going to prove the point of my troll confront people shtick. Okay, so let me pull up my original tweet where I covered this, because I did in fact mention this over here. So I say, people saying I'm a liar because of these tweets. Aside from not knowing the extent of his shit then, meaning I didn't know about the Keemstar daughter shit, I'd collab with all kinds of scum. Most of my collabs are trolling, and I was gonna grill him. I'd interview EDP. I've never commissioned, promoted, been friends with him.
Okay, You could easily imagine someone getting EDP onto a call to treat as a punching bag. Although, perhaps simply imagining things isn't enough, and it certainly wasn't enough for the YouTuber Lyrics.
Lyrics, commentary YouTuber fellow, says, good faith question, hoping you could clarify. This is huge, because most questions, not at all good faith. So you didn't know the extent of his shit then, but you were going to grill him at the same time. If you did get that collab, what would you grill Shad on? From what I remember, he was known as the guy who drew minors sexually. You didn't know that? The rare good faith question. I knew about the lolly stuff and some of his art, like the bestiality with fictional children, etc. Definitely enough to grill the guy. Holy shit, there is so much more. Like, there is so much more than just that. That is the worst, and that would have been the hard cutoff for me to not even respond to the guy, probably. But I legitimately was gonna grill the guy. If you've seen my collabs, I didn't know about Keemstar's daughter, although that's the less important part of my tweet. Collabs are not promotions or condonement in any way on my channel.
He would have bullied him, crushed his soul over lowly bestiality. I should disclose to you at this point, dear viewer, the fact that I have a little bird sitting on my shoulder who goes by the name Nicandros and is a regular in my Twitch chat. He showed me some things, and because of that, this is where I start to feel a niggling doubt. For instance, I mean, he did specify clearly child bestiality is what he has an issue with, so it's not
like you just saw. He the criticism, I guess, becomes with Nux is that he was actively using Shadman's art in his thumbnails. He's like, well, I was gonna roast it. I was like, yeah, but like, are you really roasting it? Like, it's like the equivalent of I can't think of an equivalent. To me, what it comes across as is Nux is like profiting off of this inappropriate material, which it's not being really done in the fashion. It's being packaged in the fashion like he's disavowing it, but it's kind of like a, wow, look at this. This plays the entire video. This is just awful. Do you see how awful this is, guys? You see how awful that? Wow, this is crazy. So it's like, to me personally, it comes across like he doesn't actually have a problem with this type of content. But in order for him to show it on his channel so people can watch that type of content, he packages it in a way where it's like, this is crazy and awful, guys. Are you seeing this? Like, it's that would be a good equivalent. It's like when something happens, it's like a girl's nudes get leaked, right? And they're going on about it on Twitter. And you get that comment. It's like a meme at this point. It's like a joke. You get that comment where it's like, oh my God, Shoe Nice's nudes got leaked? That's terrible. Send me the link right away. It's like you wanted to see the nudes and you want to see the nudes and you want to ask where to see them, but you can't just act like you want to see them because you want to see the girl nude. You got to ask for it in a way where it's like, that's terrible. That's awful. You better send me that right away so I can do something. It's like what Nux is doing. He's like, he wants to show this content. He wants to put the freaking lolly hentai in his thumbnails so people click on it because they want to see the lolly hentai. And he knows that. But in order to do that and not catch flack for it, he has to package the video in a way where it's like, this is awful. This is just terrible. This is crazy. In my opinion, that's what Nux was doing with Shadman.
not the same, but goddamn, the line for what he considers freak shit suited only for ripping on has got to be a bit closer to Shadman than it is for me. I mean, cartoon woman being raped by a dog in a public humiliation ritual crosses it easily for me, personally. You know me, I do love making a spectacle of strange things, but this is just bait for who knows what kind of person to click it and then watch him react to a speedrun fail compilation.
Exactly. That's pretty much what I said, only he's much more creative with his language in a good way.
What kind of fish are you gonna catch with a worm like that on your hook? This kind.
Yeah, look, and here's an example. Like, this is, like, people are clicking this video to watch the lolly hentai, and Nux is able to upload it to his channel for people to watch it as long as he sits there and goes, this is horrible! And this person's clearly watching it in a way where they just want to see the lolly hentai. They don't care for the criticisms. And this is the easiest way to access it, right? Because it's just on YouTube, right? if you read some comments below, they give you the sauce. What's the sauce? And there's like a link, supposedly probably to where to find like the full video. And this was like active on Nux's channel, which like you can't get mad that like every single comment isn't moderated on a YouTuber's channel. But for a guy like Nux who has the platform that Nux has, I personally think this is extremely irresponsible. And I think he's being dishonest about the nature of him commentating this type of material on his channel.
The kind that's into that stuff and will share the source for your viewers in the comments. Wait a second. That profile pic. Who's that little cartoon girl? I swear I've seen her before.
There we go. Let's go. Dodger Stadium, baby.
Oh, how adorable. What a sweet child. I've also seen her in a thumbnail of a video on Nux.
Yeah, that's insane, bro. Like, that's like literally. This is what I'm talking about. 118 fucking thousand views, straight up lolly fucking hentai, and it's like he gets to re-upload the hentai as long as he has a picture of him being offended by the hentai. Like, I don't, like, dude, you like, I don't know. That's my interpretation of it. I think it's very, very inappropriate.
Taku's Nuxanor channel. A rather unwise reverse image search on Google eventually leads you to a hentai site page where the image, which features an erect penis that had just been cut off for the thumbnail, is tagged with, among other labels, imminent rape. Lolly. Further, on the topic of his viewers being inspired to seek the porn he showcases in thumbnails, although he does sometimes help them out by pinning the porn artist's name when it's commented.
What? That's literally it. That's literally it. That is this girl's nudes got leaked. That's it. That's terrible. You better give me a link right now so I can do something about this. Nux is out here like, oh my god, this hentai is disgusting and deranged. Here's the name of the artist if you want to look it up. Like, what? It's crazy, dude. Crazy,
the porn artist's name when it's commented. There is also a porn.
This art's terrible. This is crazy. I can't believe this exists. Here's the artist's name if you want to look it up. It's disgusting. What?
Sick fellow on the fan-run Nux Taku subreddit who goes by reality_false, who is a prodigious source poster for everything else. He posts the thumbnail and shares where the porn's from, or at least he did until he was apparently banned 3 years ago. That said, his posts still remain, meaning he functions as an archive for Nux Taku's changed or deleted dodgy choices from before that point. Like this. Hey look, it's our little friend again.
That's what they call it, and I don't think he even goes over it very well. I don't know if this is a Nux community thing or if this is just when you're in these weird rabbit holes on the internet type of thing. But the sauce is them finding the goon material. So the sauce for the thumbnail on Nuxanor's latest video is showing VTuber several HoloLife clips, and it's a link. So when they're asking for the sauce, they're asking for the link. They're asking for the link, bro. What's the sauce? Here's the sauce. Those nudes got leaked? That's terrible. Send me the sauce. You know? That's the code. That's the code, bro. I don't know why that artist is singled out, because I bet there's hundreds, probably even thousands of artists just like him. I mean, look at what comes out of Japan. Well, if you're not familiar with Shadman, he is... nobody... Dude. Shadman's on a whole other fucking level, dude. I'm actually going to stop showing this on my screen for a moment. The reason that Shad... I'm sure you are capable of finding someone who is worse than Shadman. What you will not find is someone who is worse than Shadman, who had the influence that Shadman had, and how popular Shadman was able to become. And honestly, it probably would be pretty hard to find someone as bad as Shadman. If we haven't gone over it enough, he would like draw real women. Like Logan, the movie, Daphne Keem, the girl who played Logan's clone, her production company, her like people affiliated with her, like reached out to Shadman. Like he was so famous. Like, you need to take this down. They shut down his website. He drew Keemstar's daughter, like inappropriate. If you can't already get the gist by now, in an appropriate manner. So that's why Shadman gets the heat, because he's prolific. He's like prolific. He's like a legend in that space. Yeah, no, Mr. Shadman is like a really bad character. And he got tons of public support for a long time. He didn't start drawing like real girls. Literally the tipping point for Shadman where I think it's all bad, but the tipping point for Shadman where I personally just don't even want to hear a response, I don't even want to hear a defense anymore, is anything after Donald Trump got elected president, because that's the tipping point where he drew Keemstar's daughter, and then he just continued down that path from there. But yeah, no, that's why Shadman gets so much shit.
The source image isn't tagged with lolly on the site it shared on this time, but I'm going to go ahead and say that's a cartoon of an undeveloped teen or preteen hairless girl getting railed. Neat. FYI, this whole video was deleted for some reason, so I don't know what was in it. By the way, that little shark girl, she's an avatar for a VTuber, and she's called Gura. Here's a little clip where Nux Taku mentions her.
There's lollies, which I have absolutely nothing against. I don't think anyone has anything against lollies.
Whoa, I didn't... Everyone's so, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, now he's probably... Do we have that? I just assumed that Nux Taku would be on the I don't like lolly train, but, like, back in the day, here he is. Lollies are cool. I like lollies. Like, that's like, it's literally fucking child pornography, bro. It's just animated. It's insane to me that there was ever an argument for people, or they're like, I actually don't think lolly is that bad. It's just art. It's, so if you draw a little girl fucking getting railed by a horse, then that makes it okay. It's still a fucking little girl getting railed by a fucking horse, bro. What's wrong with you? Like, if you get off to that, there's a fucking issue there. How can you not see that? Nux doesn't see the issue with that. Nux doesn't see a problem with that at all. He's like, I got nothing. What did he say? What did he say? I got no problems with that.
Dark girl. She's an avatar for a VTuber, and she's called Gura. Here's a little clip where Nux Taku mentions her.
There's lollies, which I have absolutely nothing against. I don't think anyone has anything against lollies, okay? Like Chibidoki or Megumin from Konosuba or Gura. Nothing has anything against lollies. It's lolly that's the gray zone.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let harmful.
He's very clear, though. It's gray. It's not full pedo.
Yeah, and even, like, to me, lolly, like, is just all bad. It's all child pornography. It's just animated. But then he's like, well, lolly porn is the gray zone. He's not even condoning it in a, like, specifically acknowledging it in a pornographic sense. He still sees no problem with it. Nux Taku said that drawing little girls for porn is a gray zone.
His thumbnails aren't full pedo. It's sus, but they're just cartoons.
This guy's pinned tweet that he retweeted is this. All right, look, it's lewd lolly stuff. That's a line. All right, lewd lolly stuff. That's the gray zone, not actual pedophilia, but the gray zone.
I'm a bit harsher regarding people who are aroused by depictions of children, especially depending on, you know, how realistic the proportions are, but I can tolerate that perspective elsewhere. I've heard him go into a bit more detail about his thoughts.
This is like one of those debates that in the anime community, it's so divided. Like, there are actual people that think it's not weird to fetishize lollies. I'm just saying.
He did do it. There we go. That was the question that I had. Now he's like against lollies. Dude, this guy's... Dude, Nux is a fucking snake. Nux is a weirdo, bro. Nux is a fucking weirdo. Nux is a fucking weirdo.
I'm just saying.
He deserved the criticism. I wasn't sure if he deserved it or not, but he does.
Definitely better to fetishize lollies than real-life children. That's not the debate.
He's giving the fucking lolly defense right now, bro. He did it. At 790,000 subscribers, he was given the lolly defense.
Doesn't make it not weird and cringe and something that I would keep away from.
Weird and cringe. Weird. Yeah, dude. Lollies. Yeah, the lolly shit. It's weird and cringe.
You know, my kid.
Even when he's being critical of it, it's like super like light punches, bro.
Per se.
Quite a light tone. So I'm still not really buying the idea he'd have been super hostile to Shadman in a collab. Be real, it would have been light ribbing that any weirdo cartoon cunny connoisseur has heard a million times. But I wonder, how does that opinion play out in terms of letting children around the kind of people who use lolly porn in their thumbnails to expose a mass audience to such material? Just a thought. One more little thing I want to peep before getting back on track a bit, presumably with this being his take on lolly, his take on...
What have we got here? VTubers probably shouldn't use childlike models. Problem is they all use childlike models. Well, I don't really agree with that, because the VTubers aren't like being, they're like Guru, and I'm not very familiar, but when I did the video about the lolly, not the lollies, fuck, I'm getting all my words scrambled here because of this video, with Guru and the HoloLife people at Dodger Stadium. I watched a little bit of it to try to like just familiarize myself with it a little bit. And I don't think that their content is like sexual. They're just cutesy anime avatars, and that should be allowed to exist. There's no problem with that. I don't think they're doing anything wrong. The problem is there's freaks on the fucking internet that make it a problem. But it's like trying to think. There's examples. I don't want to give a specific example, but there's examples of like younger people, like girls on the internet, and it's like they're not like, Pokimane is like the least sexual streamer ever, and there's people that like tie her into all of the booby streaming because her people in her audience sexualize Pokimane, although Pokimane is not sexual. So it's like if you really want to like go down that pipeline, it's like Pokimane's not allowed to make content on the internet because she's a girl, and people are always going to sexualize her because she's a girl, right? So some people just like the like chibi art style. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with anime, but some people just like the cutesy, not like anything inappropriate, like just cutesy anime art styles. They like that, so they base their avatar off of that, and then freak sexualize the non-sexual avatar. That doesn't, in my opinion, mean that they shouldn't be allowed to use that avatar. And that's my statement on that.
Cartoons, we could definitely expect him to be much more serious about questionable things involving real children, right?
All right, we're skipping that a little bit.
That's not funny. That's the other thing. Extremely concerning. For clarity, the words I heard him say were, "So now you got all these underage kids on TikTok doing the things. Obviously solo, but the implication is there." And then straight into commenting on how catchy the song is. Teehee, I'm sorry. Kids mimicking a pornographic cartoon of an Animal Crossing character having sex on TikTok is not the kind of thing I'd use as a throwaway line in a video I'm making as a grown.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Nux is a freak. Let me skip through here a little bit. He kind of already went over. I remember I did watch this already, and there were a bunch of parts where I was just like, that's a really good point, and I came out of it totally. And here's the part. Okay, so fast forward. Another character in this game here, this part of the story, is Some Ordinary Gamers had a podcast with Nux Taku. And just a lot of weirdness going on. It was like they canceled the podcast right when all this came out, and Nux got wrapped into it. But then they're denying that it's because of Nux's involvement with Shadman and the lolly stuff, which I just personally think it's a load of horseshit. And then I believe Chud Logic confronted Some Ordinary Gamers on his involvement and like Nux's involvement with all this, and the responses were odd. They were very odd. He goes over this as well, so I want to skip all the stuff in the middle here and just kind of skip to that part. Where is it, Chris? Yeah, so here's the Chris Tyson situation.
Out of every possible way.
Yep, seems true too. I'm not a Game of Thrones enjoyer, but seems correct. And I know it seems true because I checked, and I regret checking.
I knew about the lolly stuff and some of his art, like the bestiality with fictional children, etc.
Yeah, the collection of images the thumbnail pic came from includes such an example of child dog rape. Now, I'm not saying
I want to skip to the
Hillary Clinton as confident that some was less that he realized it was Shadman, and more that he realized people pointing out so loudly that it's Shadman was an issue. Merely a possibility. Folks, at this point, Forget roasting Shadman. Forget trolling him. I think that guy's in jail anyway. The time has passed. Maybe this Nux Taku guy is the one in need of some flames. Seems like a soft target for ridicule to me. Ooh, maybe someone should troll collab him like he was gonna do with Shadman. Any podcast that would do something like that? Having said that, as you know, I'm not an, oh no, you gotta block the weirdos and potential creeps and never interact kind of guy. But he wouldn't be my first pick of teammate. I wouldn't have him as a consistent podcast member, just my taste. So when controversy flared, I wasn't surprised to see this. Mutahar, who ran a podcast with Nux Taku, talking to friend of the stream, Chud Logic, about it. Mutahar initially explains his uncertainty about the situation.
He did tell me, like, they interacted before. I think it was, like, the collab shit. Okay. And from just, like, behind the scenes, he told me that this was all, like, a fucking joke or something at the time, which is, like, I never pressed.
So the one thing I do want to say is I totally believe that some ordinary gamers didn't know the severity of Nux's involvement with Shadman. Although it does seem odd that some ordinary gamers wouldn't have known about the thumbnails that Nux was using. But I guess that does, you know, that's a debatable thing, right? But yeah, no, yeah. I think there's wiggle room for some ordinary gamers here. I don't think the some ordinary gamers' involvement in friendship with Nux Taku is initially worthy of criticism towards some ordinary gamers.
Hard into that, just because I have no knowledge of like how far his relationship goes.
In spite of the uncertainty, though, things quickly got both spicier and muddier.
Are you going to keep him off the podcast?
No, we would cancel the podcast. It's not happening. The podcast is done.
This is hard because obviously, you know, people won't be
podcast is done. Yeah, podcast is done now.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the podcast is over. We are not filming the last episode. It's over.
Pretty nuclear statement in this context.
Is that are you serious?
Yeah, we're not doing the podcast anymore. It's done.
Why?
We're supposed to film on Tuesday. Well, there's a couple reasons for it. A lot of that was obviously some of the Shad stuff too, because we were kind of sitting there, we're like, me and Caleb, we were just like, this is, I don't know, it's weird. The other thing was we just want to redo things, maybe like.
Yeah, I think that's the end of it, right? I think Oompaville and some ordinary gamers were like, okay, we're seeing the Nux stuff now, and it's weird. We want him gone. And then just out of like a courtesy to probably at this point a former friend, after saying that, then some ordinary gamers is like, and also we did just want to restructure stuff anyway, which that's speculation, but come on, this timeline seems awfully convenient for them not to be ending their affiliation with Nux because of his affiliation with Shadman and all this lolly bullshit.
2 months down the road or something between each other, and that's kind of where we're at.
This is the key snippet. 2 things are mentioned: the podcast ending and an episode being cancelled. And 2 reasons are given: the Nux stuff being weird and an apparent plan they already had. Do the 2 reasons apply to both? Does one apply to one? Does one apply to the other?
Like Taku getting iced out. Sorry.
I mean, for me, for like Nux or whatever, like I talked to him and he's a good friend behind the scenes for sure. And this whole situation, like I would have to really look into more of his involvement and like everything. Like if you want to walk me through it, like I'd be completely fine.
And then somehow it gets even less clear, because despite such definitive statements, Mutahar is again expressing uncertainty, before later really homing in on the element of Nux Taku's character that irks me.
I feel like if he had an interaction, he should just come clean entirely. It does come across a little weird that he made a whole response, but he admitted that part. It's like, I think if you're in that camp, if you ever interacted with Shadman, just completely own up to it once, take the fucking L and move on. But that's just weird.
And honestly, like that's fair enough. Like there are people that like what was it, Ricky Berwick associated with Shadman, and just came out and was like, I was in the wrong, whatever. What are we gonna do? Because there was a period in history where like Shadman was like a very, very like approved creator, and not everybody is keeping up with every little fucking thing with Shadman, especially creators that don't just follow internet drama and gossip. So, if you did like publicly interact with Shadman or like at all really, and people are criticizing you for that now, I mean, what more is there to ask than for you to just be like, yeah, you know what, I really shouldn't have been doing X, Y, and Z and associating and saying this and that was bad because this person is bad and I disavow it. That's the correct way to do it. But you can't just act like you didn't know. You can't just pretend like you didn't know. If there's clear evidence that you did know or you were trying to collaborate with him, And even then, like if Nux would, like, I don't know, if Nux would just say, yeah, I was trying to collaborate with Shadman and that was really fucked up. I don't know what I was thinking. What more could you really criticize? There's the initial criticism, there's Nux's response, and then that's it. But the problem with Nux is it appears that he's being dishonest of the nature of his overall relationship with Shadman and the content that he was making.
Able to, I don't know, it almost seems like kind of like hiding an interaction for no real reason.
And then a later comment sounds even worse.
I mean, there's no reason to really hide it unless like the interaction was more deeper than it was initially let on, is what I would say.
There's more said than I've shown in these clips, but I think it's clear that while the specifics were murky, the tone was a little hardcore. It's easy to understand how people could interpret this in different ways, but there were one or two concrete statements, and I want to focus on this one.
We are not filming the last episode, it's over.
Cut and dry. It's over. They're not filming the last episode. I think we ourselves can home in on that and say the cancellation of the last episode is probably down to the Nux Taku controversy regarding association with Shadman. But as with...
And whether that be the case or not, like that is the most logical conclusion to draw to, despite what they say. Because there was a relationship there. There might be an attempt to amicably end a relationship to a certain degree, just out of courtesy. But like overall, what happened? Okay, Nux got exposed for being involved with some pretty weird shit, and then the podcast ended. That's a pretty convenient timeline of events to not be directly related.
So many things that relate to Nux. Even with this, there's slipping, there's sliding, there's sliminess. There did end up being a final episode recorded and published featuring Nux. Which isn't the issue. I'm not saying, you said there wasn't going to be and now there is. No, it's fine. It's all right. You can change your mind. However, what bothers me is the blatant sweeping, as the kids call it, that accompanied this. One more example of spineless, subtly deceptive behavior to throw on the pile. You see, it must have been Nux Taku's lucky day. Chud Logic and a Twitter user, understandably given what Mutahar said and the way he said it, mischaracterized the situation. Chud's title stated Nux was kicked from the podcast, and the tweet claimed it was ending because of this controversy, which as we know now is not accurate. Nux seizes on this error in his defense video. He even has a big ol' yapping clip from Mutahar reinforcing that it's false. The podcast was not ending because of Nux. In fact, they intend to work together in the future if possible. Great. Looks true to me. What's the problem? That isn't all there is. That's not even necessarily the juiciest part. The announcement of the episode cancellation sounded like a snap-in-the-moment emotional decision. And the reason for that at the time was most definitely the controversy, as confirmed on another Chud Logic stream by Mutahar's other half via Super Chat.
Oh, okay, right. So the truth is, this is Dojangle saying this, I believe, okay? So, is this it? Is this true? Can we say this? The last episode was the reason it wasn't filmed because of the Shadman stuff, but the podcast was ending anyway. And the way Mutahar explained it made it sound like the podcast was ending because of that stuff, but it was actually the fact the last episode wasn't being filmed because of that stuff and it was going to end anyway. Is that it? Is that the fair assessment of this?
Doe confirms this characterization as accurate, though it's worth noting her super chat says it was the reason at the time. Following this, Chud perceptively notes.
So yeah, it feels like what this does then, it enables it to be like, well, it's not ending because of me. But then if it is true that the last episode wasn't filmed because of the Shadman stuff, I mean, that is worth a mention, right? But he's probably not going to mention it because he can just focus on the, well, it was going to end anyway. It was going to end anyway type thing.
Yep. He lays it out again.
I think it's probably true the podcast was ending anyway. And it's just the final episode isn't being recorded because of this little drama that happened with the Shadman stuff, right?
During this, Doe chimes in to say that the last episode has, in fact, been recorded. They backtracked, as we know because it's been released at this point, with a full cast. The otherwise perceptive Chud misses this in chat and proceeds to theorize.
Like, clearly, to me, what this seems like is, like, they don't want to fucking burn Nux Taku super hard over this. So they're giving this little out of, like, we'll make it about the podcast ending without really talking much about the reasoning for the last episode not getting filmed. That's what it seems like to me.
To which Doe replies and confirms they don't want to burn him. They're still friends.
Yeah.
Oh, Fwens looking out for Fwens. So it's a sweep.
So that is
a minor
sweeping.
sweep, but a sweep nonetheless.
So that would... And that's what Chud said, but he missed that message from Dojangles. This paints a picture that they are not comfortable with Nux Taku, and they were ending the podcast perhaps prematurely than planned because of his affiliation with some pretty sick shit. But out of courtesy from being former friends, they still wanted to give him an out publicly. And even with Dojangles, Some Ordinary Gamer's wife, her chats to Chud Logic there, it still is the picture that it seems to all paint when put together.
episode was originally going to be cancelled over creepy shit? Into the memory hole. That statement was never made. And while they do briefly help Nux out with the drama at the start of their last episode, nothing about Mutahar's original intent or statement of cancellation is mentioned as far as I can tell. Never happened, I guess. Doesn't matter. Not pertinent to direct discussion of the drama that was directly responsible for this episode being planned to never occur. In fact, I feel really sleepy. Maybe Mutahar never had those feelings or said those things that thousands of people have heard. I must be mistaken. To me, this is one more little tiny PR asswipe for the guy who constantly needs spot cleaning.
This does paint a picture of sweeping from Mutahar. Oompaville hasn't really said anything about it, but yeah, this paints a picture where it's like, listen, you're into weird shit, Nux, and we need you gone, but I'm going to give you an out because you were good to me, we were friends, but you're gone. And so, and then, Some Ordinary Gamers is kind of appearing to be a bit dishonest with his opinions on Nux and his affiliation to these things. And it appears to be he's doing that to give him an out publicly. He doesn't want to completely burn Nux at the end of the podcast.
When his butt gets too dirty. Look, it's cool to have internet video friends, but when that means clearly strategizing to manipulate an audience's perception of reality to their benefit, it rubs me the wrong way.
And that bums me out. That bums me out because I agree, and I like Mutahar, and it bums me out. It just bums me out. I don't know. It's disappointing that he's being a bit dishonest here.
Mass media, once you're broadcasting to people, that's not being a good friend. That's called being compromised by friendship. Though, to be fair, friendship might not be the right term. Think about it. We saw in that interview, Mutahar didn't really know what was happening, but was ready to knee-jerk throw Nux Taku under the bus. Controversy? Not doing the last episode, even though that's a really, really bad look for Nux Taku. Maybe Mutahar's explanation was so garbled out of panic. The worst of both worlds. Memory holding what happened because it's a bad look for your associate, but they're not a close enough associate, really, to have not knee-jerk screwed them on a live stream in the first place, which you then need to pretend didn't happen. It's a real shame that Chud chilled on it after getting his answers so quickly, for some reason. I think there was plenty more fun that could have been had. This isn't even really a high-pressure thing. The stakes aren't that high for Nux Taku. It's not like much of his existing audience would turn on him over a Shadman association, regardless of how tenuous or close it may be, or because large creators cancel a show over it, making it look like they're judging him. Just look at what's enticed them to click on videos over the years. They'd probably be into it. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.
Hell yeah, dude. So that's that. I skipped around the video. That is as harmful opinions. You should definitely watch the full video if that interested you. This is his channel. If you're not familiar, he's pretty good. I like him. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, he was given a way out, it appears, from the podcast, because the podcast, him leaving the podcast at this time makes it look like, there's a level of Some Ordinary Gamers and Oompaville seeing Nux Taku's involvement as inappropriate, negative to some level, which adds to the people that are accusing Nux Taku of being like weird and affiliating with Shadman in an inappropriate way and, having inappropriate interaction with that type of content. So then the word there was sweeping. They initially canceled the podcast. They weren't going to do anything with him anymore, but they did it in the end in a way that gave Nux Taku an out. That it wasn't because it wasn't because Some Ordinary Gamer and Oompaville agree with the criticisms on Nux. It was because they were canceling the podcast anyway. Me and many others just find that very difficult to believe, and I do think that Nux is being given too much charitability. He's being given a nice little public PR way out, lack of a better description. So I just wanted to share that with you a little bit. Go check out Harmful Opinions to all three of you guys watching right now. Boogie2988 is a 49-year-old man dating a 20-year-old girl that was previously known to be the Mr. Rogers of the internet. Now, this could still be true if Mr. Rogers banged more prostitutes and Boogie2988 could prove he has cancer. I think everybody pretty much knows the story by now. Destiny, a well-known streamer, confronted Boogie on his podcast over the